We're live. I'm not sure
I
how to
reckon we
record.
ought to just hang on. Everybody just freeze, so it looks like the cameras are frozen. There you go.
Right,
That's
there
my
we go.
contribution for it. There we go.
Well, thank you very much, gents, for joining me today to talk about the new and wonderful Beyond the Gates of Antares, which I have the pleasure of trying to get through now. So thank you to that Warlord for that. We'll just very quickly introduce ourselves because you're all new to the channel, or at least live to the channel anyway. So in no particular order, let's start off with the fingers are pointing towards Rich. So let's start with Rich. Who are you? What do you do?
Hi, I'm Gary. I'm 36. I am a truck driver. My name is Rich D. I work for Warlord Games. I am our online community coordinator, I believe is my title. I moderate our forums. I watch various Facebook pages, manage various Facebook groups and bits and pieces. I help with writing our newsletter. I get my face out into public as much as I can to push Warlord out to new people and to talk to people like you, I guess, amongst many other things. Lots of photo editing, lots of video bits and pieces that you'll see shortly. All sorts, really. That's kind of me.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And let's go on to Jez next.
Oh God, not me! Bloody hell, I've been sniffing glue. Hang on. Right, yeah, I'm Jez. I am. I've been super glue up the nostrils and activator in the mouth. I'm done for the night, mate. I'm Jez. I work full time for a mobile phone communication company, but in my part time, I also do a painting blog. I also work alongside a couple of different companies. One of them being Warlord. Where I sort of get stuff to paint, and then they occasionally use the photos, which is nice. And do lots of commission painting, which is just silly. Lots of commission painting, which the next person will also tell you about. And I'm also insane.
Fantastic. I think that's part of the requirements. Andy.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm Andy Singleton. I'm Chief Paint Miner at Volley Fire Painting. And you may have also seen me on other webcasts with Captain Dando to my left.
Other
I've also seen us on the Warlord webcast, but let's leave that there, shall we? Jez says, I know a little bit about commissions. I'm a full-time painter. Do a bit of scribbling as well for Warlord letter occasionally. I think that's how I got to know Rich, actually. His job was to edit out fantasies. I know Jez from, I don't really know, just sort of generally bumming around and being unsociable.
Unsociable on social networks.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to have you all here, and thank you very much for offering to join me in this hour of madness, but I'm sure hopefully it won't be too mad for our viewers. So I wanted to start off... I wanted to start off talking about obviously Gates of Antares, and lots of people have done it. Rich is, I see every time I see Rich on, he's talking about Gates of Antares. So so I thought we might come at it from a different angle today. Myself, I kind of got into wargaming through the historical side of things, and really enjoyed that because of my love for history. So I've never played sci-fi games before, and it's a little bit daunting to me to kind of get into this game having never done any sci-fi before, but I'm actually finding it quite easy. Now, what experience have you guys had with sci-fi gaming, and how does Antares kind of, what's your impression of it from that point of view? Anybody can start.
Go on then, Andy.
Yeah, all right. My background, like way back, like most people, I guess, started out gaming with things like 40k, Necromunda, all the various Games Workshop games, everything that spins off of that, and sort of drifted away from that, got into historical gaming, sort of through reenacting and sort of general interest in history. But I've always had that interest in sci-fi stuff. I'm a big fan of shows like Farscape, which is very much like Antares in feel in a lot of ways. So, been involved with this for maybe a year or so now, and as the game's developed, it's just got sort of richer and richer in terms of background, to the point where now it's just sort of ridiculously cool, and it's just hard not to read about things. just gets sort of drawn into the background. So yeah, it's nice to come back to sci-fi. And again, it's nice to use colours that aren't like greens, browns, and generally drab colours for a change.
Yeah, I was saying to Jez and Rich actually earlier that, you know, usually I'm used to coming and speaking to you, Andy, and saying, right, what colour is this German thing? And you say something, and I paint it that colour, you know. But coming to you and saying, well, what colour is the Concorde? And you say, well, whatever you fancy. That sort of was quite new for me.
It's liberating, isn't it? Because you can start using all these different coloured inks that you wouldn't normally use. I mean, I've started using the Vallejo game colour. They've got like red ink, white ink, yellow inks. And they're very, very cool because you can put them on over just like a white primer, and it pretty much paints the figure for you in the process. Genius, actually, and lazy.
Yeah, I've painted with inks before. It's over white. It's really good. It's really.
It is, isn't it?
You can build up layers with it.
No, I recommend it to anyone.
Who's next? You going, Jez?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, I started off right back in the midst of time with Hero Quest and Space Crusade. Yay! So I started off with those. That got me into GW. Then worked for GW for about 3-4 different times and different occasions. So I've only ever really done GW stuff. Then sort of dropped out of it when it got too expensive to do, and started doing other bits. Started doing things like War Machine, Infinity, and about 20 other different games. Realised there was just a huge scope for stuff to do, and kind of, I don't know, sort of found my way into bolt action. Somebody showed me bolt action in one of my local gaming stores, and I went, oh, it's ever so good. It's like 40k meets Warhammer type thing. I went, oh, I'll give it a go. Fell in love with it instantly. Absolutely awesome game. And that's pretty much the only thing I've done since, really, apart from a few different painting projects. But now the Antares has come out. It's a bit like going home, if you know what I mean. It's nice to have gone away and had a nice long, like, 4-year adventure, wherever it is, with historical stuff, which I've never really done before. Yeah, always been fantasy and sci-fi. I'd never done historical. So
it's got that feel of coming back
from it,
isn't it?
It's like coming home for me. Oh, I absolutely love it. It's fantastic.
Cool. What about you then, Rich?
Yeah, probably quite similar, I suppose. Started with Warhammer Fantasy back in the day, back in 4th edition, 5th edition. Got cracking with that. Was big into Mordheim, and still am, honestly. And then my previous job, I worked as a kind of products guy at another wargaming company at a retailer. So had to get into War Machine, Malifaux, Infinity, and a whole bunch of small ones, Volsung from MicroArts, and all sorts really, and kind of explored a whole bunch of different ranges. And then kind of discovered bolt action there. Loved the models, loved the rule set there, and then got a job at Warlord. So the past sort of 2-3 years at Warlord means that the past 2 or 3 years has been pretty much historicals for me. Bolt action is kind of my game of choice, and that's been dominating my entire hobby for the past, I'd say, about 3 years now. So Antares, say I've been involved in the beta testing for the past year and a half maybe, in sort of drips and drabs, bits and pieces, and helping out with all sorts of bits and pieces in the background. And yeah, as everyone said, really, I've been painting lots of greens, lots of browns, lots of blacks and greys for the past 3 years. So as I say, it's great to just get my boromites, as I spray, exactly as Jez said, I sprayed them white and inked them in purple, and they are pretty much painted essentially for you. So it's cracking out those paints. I've got more, I suppose we all have got more paints than we care to admit to. So you say it's cracking out those turquoises, those purples, those all those funky colours that we don't get a chance to with World War II stuff, and even with Napoleonics and stuff like that. There are a lot of bright colours, but there are some obviously ones that you don't touch that much. So it's cracking those out. And again, it's the idea of, I adore the bolt action system. I adore how the order dice work and how they affect the game. That's just amazing for me. That's why it's my game of choice, really. And Antares kind of takes that and kind of takes it up a little bit of a level as well. There are different things you can do with army rules and with certain weapons that affect the order dice as well. So it gives that, it's that further step away from you go I go that makes it much more unpredictable and keeps you in the game all the time and keeps you rethinking all the time. That's why I love it. But that's how I kind of came to Antares, essentially working through Warlords and loving bolt action and just beavering away at it, really.
Cool. So So would you guys say then, for somebody getting into sci-fi gaming, is Antares as good as any game to get in, or a bit better? Or what do you guys think?
I would say
Well, I
so.
find it very
I'm maybe a
easily
bit biased.
accessible. Yeah.
Go on, Jess, sorry.
Yeah, really. No. So it's easily accessible. I mean, you don't need a lot of models. The rule book's not really that expensive. It's well written. I think it's fantastically laid out. To be honest with you, it's a beautiful book. But I say you don't need an awful lot, and if you haven't got the models, you can always represent them as something that you have got until such time as you want to swap over and get something else. I mean, when I was going through the alpha play test and before there were any models, I've made a couple of Antares armies up out of just some old 40k models I got lying around. I think of me Algarin out of town, and just use different weapons that I got lying around in a bits box and just cobbled the squads together just so I can try the rules out. I remember my mate Andy, he used he wanted the Boromites right from the start, so he used some of Mantic's not squats, whatever they are, Forge Fathers.
Yeah.
So he used some of them. I thought fantastic. Yeah, it does the job. But no, it's great because now we've actually got the model ranges coming through, and it's going to give us a lot more flexibility, a lot more stuff to get excited over. We all like getting excited over models.
Yep. Fantastic.
But yeah, it's well worth noting. I know Jez mentioned the rulebook. The rulebook is 260 pages. It's a big old book. It's hefty. You can easily kill a man with it. But it's well worth noting that there's 50 pages of fluff in there. There's heaps and heaps of extra background story. There's heaps of 6 entire army lists. It's just packed. Essentially, if you want to get playing, don't be daunted by it. There's a fantastic little quick start guide in the starter box that's like 6 pages long, and that gets you started pretty much straight away. And again, I know Andy's been out demoing to people at Wayland and places like that. And within 15-20 minutes, people are picking the game up with the basics. A lot of it is the basics are quite easy to get hold of. A lot of what's in the rulebook is kind of it's worth learning kind of in chunks. Build your army, start with that, learn all the different rules for that army, but then as you face different opponents, you'll then learn what this weapon does, what that weapon does through playing. Is probably the best way to do it. That's the way we've learned at Warlord anyway. So don't be daunted by the rulebook. It's a fantastic book as well. But yeah, it's the basics are really easy to learn in 15-20 minutes with someone demoing to you. We've also got videos out from Warlord that show you how to do different game mechanics and stuff, and there are more coming. And if you've got rules questions, it's a great place on the forum to ask them, with loads of friendly people waiting to answer and stuff, including Rick himself as well. So yeah, it's nice and easy to get into, I think.
It's got a very intuitive feel to it as well, the game. I mean, like you were saying, Mitch, there's the Getting Started guide, which is a handful of pages, and with that'll give you the basics of the game. Everything else is a kind of window dressing almost, all the things, all the various different weapon effects and all that sort of thing. The actual bare bones mechanics of the game are covered within those 4 pages, so the rest of it is just sort of immersing you in the universe, bringing you into the game.
Yeah.
It's very, very cleverly done. Just at purely impartial level, it's very clever, very, very good.
I was actually quite surprised looking through the book. I mean, just even in the index, it doesn't seem to be sort of the actual how to play the game is such a small sort of section really of the book. I mean, the rest of it is just full of, like you say, immersing you in the world and really and for me, having never played fantasy in itself, this is quite different. I'm not really kind of used to that. I'm sort of expecting that every part of the book is going to be, the rules of how to play, or this modifier or that modifier, and it's quite refreshing actually to have a game that you can do. You can put out a this is how you start, and in 6 pages, and you're done. And you just go. So I think we're going to have a go at our games club, just the 3 of us in a couple of weeks' time, and just get some dice out and see how it goes. So really looking forward to that. I did have a question actually for you guys from one of our viewers who wanted to ask about the factions. Now, can factions play on the same side as a different faction?
Not officially in the rulebook, but certainly through playtesting, we did a lot of experimenting, particularly with the Freeborn, because the Freeborn are kind of merchants and traders and things like that. So they travel between systems and they buddy up with different factions depending on where they are and things like that. So certainly through playtesting, we looked into that. I don't know if we're going to investigate that further and explore that further in further supplements, things like that. I'm not sure. But I mean, for the purposes of your own personal gaming, I mean, Warlord are all about just throw models down and throw some dice. Essentially, we don't get massively caught up ourselves in semantics and get dug down into particulars and things like that. We're all about kind of just let it go, have fun with the game. It's a game, play with it. So. For your own purposes, dive in there. And I'd say going forwards, possibly in the future, there'll be something in a possible supplement or a PDF on the website or something to kind of officially say that. But our sort of standpoint, our point of view is just, you know, if you want to, go for it. Go and have fun with it, basically.
Fantastic.
Well, I suppose if you wanted to do, say, an allied force, you could do, I don't know, 500 points of Concord and 500 points of Freeborn to give you a 1,000-point force. Because the way the army lists are scaled, make it perfectly acceptable. As long as you've got your couple of tactical units, and it's very, very easy. It's very, very scalable. I think it's quite accessible. So it's just about sort of within your own local community what actually works for each other and what works for yourselves, rather than trying to get too caught up in rules lawyering. Right. It's not necessary, really. I mean, it's such a fun, accessible game that you don't need to go into that. I don't think.
In the old beta rulebook, you had
that old thing.
Obviously, when it was going out there, and it was just like try the stuff. There was a Concord task force, and I actually wouldn't mind having a go making that and seeing how it plays. It'd be interesting to see how many points it is, because it's a mix of Concord and Freeborn, led by a Nuhu, which are good.
Yeah,
like Nuhu.
And again, kind of fluff-wise, there are different forces that lend themselves more to it. I'd say the Freeborn kind of lend themselves naturally to it. Also, Concord and Algrin, there are different mentions in the book of them sort of fighting together or fighting on the same side and stuff. The Gar are probably the hardest one to ally to, because they are very sort of war-focused, so it would kind of be Gar and Gar if it was Gar. But I mean, essentially, from our point of view, it's just kind of just have fun with it. If you want to, then go for it and let us know how it goes, really.
Fantastic. I certainly look forward to that. You know, primarily just because we're sort of, me and my gaming club, we're pretty new to it, and so it's a case of, well, what have we got? Well, we've got this and we've got that. Well, what about this and that? And so, yeah, we're looking forward to that. I wanted to move on, particularly to talk about the construction of the figures, and I've been building the plastics from the starter set. There's one that I'm very proud of. I reckon it took me about an hour and a half, but I got him in the end. But one of the things that really struck me that I think is so great, particularly with the plastic figures, is the way it all interlocks and locks into itself. The only experience I'd had was making one of the Warlord Russian T-34 85 tanks, and you sort of have the front machine gun, and it's got like a box on the back that fits in the box of the hull, and it just makes gluing and general knowing where things go so much easier. And I love the fact that, you know, you've incorporated that into the plastic. So is there is that going to be a trend that's going to carry on? Is that something we can expect to see? Or
yes, yeah. Yeah, our plastics, we sort of learned as we've gone. We're a fairly young company compared to a lot. We're only, I think, 7 or 8 years old now. And you'll see, even if you go back to our old bolt action plastics, the original German infantry and British infantry, some of the first boxes we brought out, you'll see are a little bit more fiddly than our current ones that we're bringing out more recently. And we've taken community feedback on board massively. So things like fitting weapons into hands and stuff, so people don't have to fiddle around with rifles and fitting them in particularly and stuff. So we've taken those on board, and again, we listen to everything. We listen to all the Facebook groups, we listen to everything on the forum, all emails into our help desk and stuff, all gets filtered through to production, through to everyone. Goes into meetings. We consider all feedback, we take it on board, and we use it to improve stuff. And we've gone back to the original British infantry, and we've kind of beefed up certain bits of it to make it easier and less breakable and stuff like that. So we're learning as we go, and we're working with different plastic manufacturers as well and stuff like that. So they have experience in different areas, and they know other bits about plastics that we don't know and things like that. So it's all a learning process for us. But certainly Antares Plastics, yes, we're trying to be as user-friendly as we can. So yes, we are, we're pairing up certain arms on the sprue that show you that this arm is meant to go with this arm, that kind of thing. We're including the how to assemble section of the how to play guide as well, which tells you exactly which arms go with which arms, which tells you what everything is, what all the weapons are, what they do, and that kind of thing. So we're trying to essentially spoon feed you as much as possible. We know that not all gamers are crazy about assembling models. We know that not all gamers are crazy about converting models and things like that. Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, we know that assembly isn't necessarily the most interesting or fun of parts of the hobby for everyone, so we're trying to make it as easy as we can. So, yes, whatever we can do to make the plastics easier for you, certainly. I mean, we had a guy on Facebook yesterday, that mentioned about the wrists on the Concorde being a bit thin, and within like 20 minutes, Rick Priestley went straight back to him. Within 20 minutes, Rick Priestley, the writer and creator of the game and the universe, went straight back to him and just said, "Oh, I'm really sorry that you've had this experience." And Rick went back to him, not even like our customer service, but the man who created the entire game. So we are always listening, always, in a freaky, scary, creepy kind of way. So yes, plastics-wise, going forwards, there are lots and lots of plastics coming, and we're going to make them as easy as we can for you guys, really, while still including kind of options and things as well. We know that options are a big thing for people. We're including as many different weapon options as we can in there, right from the very first plastics, the Concorde, with the support drone that can be assembled in 2 different ways. Yeah, essentially, yes.
Fantastic.
In a very roundabout way, I kind of answered the question, I think.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Brilliant. Well, we just need to take a moment to pause because one, and I don't know whether he's watching. Jez, is Sam watching today?
Yeah, Sam. Hopefully, Sam Phillips is watching. I think it's time for a wave.
Excellent.
Ready? Yeah. Oh, Sam!
There you go. Maybe we'll have to get him on next time with us.
I think so. It's got to be done.
If you two can handle all that, that combination. Brilliant.
And again, to have a bit of an exclusive for you guys as well, when it comes to, say, making our kits as usable and as versatile as possible, when it comes to the metal kits, again, a lot of those were kind of created around the time of us in base testing and stuff. So again, in the next few weeks, I think, there's good news for the metal kits as well, let's say.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. That's appreciated. So let's move on to terrain, because for I mean, you guys have seen my channel and you've seen some of the stuff that I've put out there, and I do quite like the idea of just grabbing a bunch of stuff and making something out of it. And I've really been inspired by people like Mel, the terrain tutor, and the stuff that he does, which is incredible. And that's your shout out, Mel, by the way. Now, again, doing the historical stuff, it's very much that this is a house and this is what a house looks like, and this is the roof, and there's only so many roofs. But again, fantasy, it's sorry, not fantasy, sci-fi. It's just a whole nother world out there. Have you guys started to throw bits together yourselves, or are you buying things, or what are you doing terrain-wise?
I'm in the process of making some stuff actually right now. Funnily enough, so I've got a couple of these buildings I got from TT Combat. This is just a normal rectangular one, all right. I've got this. I can't actually remember where it came from, but this is pretty cool. It's a garden. So you've got a couple of benches here, and a couple of flower beds. My plan is to have loads of buildings sort of like this one, and I've got a bigger one here. That, so you can see sort of next to a thing that's pretty huge. What I'm going to be doing is having maybe a 4x4 area, maybe up to 6x4, depending how it goes. But I'm going to have pretty much a street of these buildings covered in snow and general detritus and things, and then have it look like a small city that's been abandoned. So there's going to be loads of like rubbish and piles of stuff, but I want it to look like a city that people have just pulled out of. And I want it to look high-tech but low-tech at the same time as well. So it's like a frontier world, maybe somewhere that the freeborn gather for trading, or where you've got Algorin and Concord coming together as a kind of meeting zone, that kind of feel to it. So I want it to look fairly transient, fairly shady, I think. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Sounds just like you, Andy, transient and shady.
Transient and shady. Seedy almost.
I'm not disputing that, Jez. No,
no. I spoke to you enough to know that's true, mate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, personally myself, I'm just looking at a stupid amount of aquarium plants. I went to Merry Hill, which is like a big shopping centre not far from where I live. And there's a couple of pet places, and we went round, and it's just whatever type of plastic vegetation you can think of, and whatever colour variation you could think of, it was there. And I just went, wow, that's actually really good. I wouldn't mind doing like a jungle board. I played on a jungle board before for Bolt Action, for like a Burma type game, and it's a completely different type of game. It's as opposed to getting sort of like your buildings and your hardcover. It's literally dashing from cover to cover, and with the reactions that you can get in Antares, I think that would make quite a nice difference. You're literally running from cover to cover, and then sort of like small firefights. I think that'd be very cool. But over a nice green and blue and purple and red planted world, that'd be amazeballs.
Nice. Yeah, that would. Quite sort of atmospheric as well, I think, playing on that. Because you would, like you say, you'd be diving from cover to cover. It'd be like Predator, almost.
Yeah, you could do, yeah. I just won't put any models down. They're all stealthed at the moment, so you can't see any of them.
So my answer, I guess, is kind of twofold. I guess I should answer kind of what I'm doing or what Warlord are doing. So let's start with Warlord first. So if you saw today's Intel newsletter, the Antares newsletter that we do, we did a bit in there. Andy, that sits like 2 feet from me, did a cracking little article about what we're doing for our kind of studio terrain. The web team, we write all the newsletters and stuff. We do all the, I suppose, a lot of the kind of publication for Antares, I suppose you'd call it, the online stuff, all the articles and things like that, and all the Facebook posts and stuff. So for that, at the moment, we're working on area terrain. So a lot of Antares is kind of about area terrain and things like that. So we're looking at what that is in Antares, and we essentially, until the rulebook came out, we didn't know about the terrain in Antares at all. So the rulebook came through printed like a couple of days before we shipped it, and we went, wow, there's like 12 pages of terrain, and there's like several hundred different types of terrain. How are we going to even approach this? So we thought, right, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll set up a table. We'll do a table for photography purposes. So we've done this this sort of brown deserty table. You might have seen some of the photos with the transmat and stuff, and this kind of a bit messer like hills and stuff that we put together within like half a day. And it's this big brown mass with little blue kind of veins and stuff in it. And it looks kind of cool.
Almost English uniform, isn't it? Yeah.
It's almost you could say. So we've got that board. So we thought, okay, we'll use that board as a basis. So then for our campaign, it'll be this desert world. So we went through the terrain section, and we picked out, I think, 6 or 7 different types of terrain that would fit a desert world. So there's things like quicksand, there's different types of scrub, low scrub, high scrub, dense scrub. There are boulder fields, there are rocky areas of unstable ground, things like that. We picked out these 6 or 7 different types of terrain that will be on a desert board, and we're going to make those. So we've got our friends at Sarissa have made us these little sort of footprint templates with little 60mm cutouts in them. So the template itself will be kind of just sanded over. And then we've got different inserts to put in these 60mm inserts. So we've been working on these little inserts. So we've got inserts for things like mineral fields and rock fields, things like that, which again is just blue foam. It isn't painted yet. Blue foam, a bit of sand on a 60mm base, and that will sit into the template perfectly. And again, boulder fields, again, just a bit of HDF foam. Through to things like we got these cast up by the resin team. So you've got this is actually an actual seed pod, I believe, from something. And this is again is an aquarium plant on top, and it's space onions basically. So we've got kind of forests of these going on different sizes and stuff, which again will slot into these bases, so we can have kind of foresty areas. And then also Daz from Mail Order has been working on some dead gar. So you've got gar battle suits in plastic that he then wrecked, and he's got kind of big bullet holes and plasma burns and stuff in them on a 60mm base or on a 40mm base as well. He put those together, and we've then cast them in resin. So we're doing all kinds of stuff. That's kind of for a gar graveyard type thing. So Warlord-wise, we're working on that. We're also working in tomorrow's newsletter as well. You'll see the first of our actual official terrain line for Antares, which is a first and exclusively there, which are amazing. We've worked with Sarissa again, and we've done something new with them that they haven't done before, and that we haven't done before, certainly. That is very exciting for us, because it's pretty much the other Rich from our mail order team. There's 2 of us do a lot of the gubbing to mail order, I suppose, a lot of the newsletter stuff. And we've designed these pieces kind of between us and Sarissa. So it's just bodging together. We took Sarissa kits that exist, and we bodged them around, and we assembled them incorrectly, basically. And then Sarissa have taken those ideas and those prototypes and actually made them into actual decent-looking scenery, and they've now actually become kits. So they will start being released tomorrow. There's all sorts. We're working on all sorts with them. The first lot tomorrow is kind of the first wave as well. So there are different ones to come, different designs of all sorts, all types, all colours, let's say. So that's kind of the Warlord thing. That's what we're on Warlord. But me personally, I got excited, as I always do about these things. So I went on Sarissa's site and I found these, which are like sci-fi utility pods that they do, like this, which are kind of, they're quite generic sci-fi. So what I thought, well, okay, what I want to do is a crashed spaceship. So what I'll do is I'll get a bunch of these. So there are these, but there are these that are twice as long. There are these that are half as long. There are these that are kind of connecting pieces, and they've got kind of strange ends on them and stuff, and different accessories and stuff. I'm going to take some of these, and each one of them's going to be kind of a section of a crashed spaceship. So what I'll do is I'll sort of tear up the ends here, make it so that this is just torn off from different sections. I'll blast out the bulkheads and stuff and make them accessible if I want to. The tops, the roofs kind of come off as well. So what it'll be about 6 of these sections, roughly, across a 4x4 board, say, and it's a big crash spaceship that's kind of just blasted along the board. There'll be a cockpit area I've done with windows and stuff. There are lots of dead Concorde bodies and stuff around it. And yeah, just really with a lot of gin and a lot of swearing and a lot of scalpel blades and a lot of fresh scars on my hands. I'm just basically tearing up all of these ends here to make it look as if it's just this big crashed wreck of a spaceship that kind of crashed there. And again, they're set kind of at weird angles into the sand and stuff, and they've been sat there for hundreds of years, and they've kind of been sand dunes have kind of grown over them a bit and stuff, and people have been in there and kind of wrecked them, and like smugglers have been in, kind of taken all the good stuff. So basically, it's just there kind of as, I suppose, buildings you can kind of use them as, but you can also use them kind of line of sight blocking. There are some that are really short that I've kind of left wide open, so you kind of go through if you want to and get cover from different angles. And again, I'm doing things like I'm putting LEDs in them, so they're going to be kind of a weird blue glow from like false ceilings and stuff. And yeah, just lots of gin-infused hacking of stuff, really, which is kind of the way I do things in the hobby. So that's my kind of thing. And also, there are some wonderful sketches that I can't show you that are just over there, about 6 feet away, about what we want to do for Salute next year. There's something very interesting coming for Salute, let's say, that I'm working on with Rich, that involves a lot of scenery and stuff. That's my wonderfully short answer.
Fantastic.
Well, just a quick one, Rich. Are the Gar bits, are they going to be available, the Racing Gar Graveyard guys?
We're currently discussing.
They'll be selling them.
We're currently discussing. He's actually done a lot of them. He's done. I've shown you these 2, but there are like 6 more on that desk there. There are like 10 more over there. He's done just a bunch. We keep giving him plastic Gar, and he keeps wrecking them in different ways, which is fantastic. Just to make this graveyard, because it's called a scrapyard in the game. But I mean, the nearest thing to scrap we've got so far is these Gar suits. So he's just wrecking them for us in a fantastic fashion. So at the moment we're kind of doing prototypes, and we're doing different types and stuff. And we've certainly discussed selling them either as a scenery piece or as rec markers or anything like that. So yeah, it's currently under discussion. We're cool. Currently looking into that. Again, it's just he's just gone home and just wrecked them himself and brought them in. We've just cast them for us so far, but they look so good. Even in person, they look a lot better as well. But yes, possibly.
Those could wreck anything, to be honest with you, couldn't they? Just
exactly.
It's
that way again. It's a bit of alcohol.
It's in its nature. Yeah. It's in its nature. Yeah. Also, we need crystal cactuses. Now you've shown me the crystal things.
Don't mention cactuses.
We need crystal cactus.
We actually have the first prototype that came in from Dave Boise downstairs was a big cactus field, and we were like, it's not Space Wild Wild West. It's not what it is. No.
No.
But it's kind of funny.
You need a crystal cactus, a crystal cactus field. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of what's happening here, amongst probably a lot of other things, really. But yeah, that's kind of where we are, what we're doing. So yeah, and again, what we're doing is with all the terrain that we're making, all the little crystal fields, the boulder fields, the space onions, all that kind of thing, we're kind of logging that in the newsletters. So it's going to be there in articles of how to build it. All this stuff we're doing is going to be step by step, how to build, how to do this, how we did this, what we found out, what went right, what went wrong. We'll do videos and stuff, and if you want to, we'll do whatever you want, just to walk you through and kind of hold your hand through it, really. And again, as we build stuff, like the Gar, as we build stuff, if it works and if we can cast it and stuff, we will consider selling it and stuff in the future. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, I decided that I wanted to do terrain on the cheap for this one because the amount I put in my bolt action terrain, it'd be nice to do something different. So I dived into the recycling bin. Started picking up a few bits, and so my friend wants to do boromites, and I thought, well, they're kind of miners. What if I made this into a refinery, going down to a silo? So I've got a few of that. I've got I got tons of these, and I think I'm gonna maybe have 3 of them and sort of a walkway between them, and and you might not be interested in this, but I was in the shower the other day and was washing. I was like, that's such a fantastic shape. That would be
make an awesome tank.
Yeah, it would be really cool. So I'm gonna play around with that. That might become some sort of, I don't know, monument, monolith thing or something.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, even at Warlord HQ, anything that comes in, we're assessing the packaging. We're looking at all the foam. We're looking at all the weird plastic bits. We're looking at everything. We bought a heater yesterday because we had no heating, and then within half an hour, the guy came to fix the heating. So we were like, "Can we use the heater as scenery? Can we make this into a gate? Can we use that? Would the heat make it a feature? Can we do something with that?" It's like anything that comes in, anything that touches these 4 walls gets made into something. It's
awesome.
Great. And again, coming from historicals, that's massively refreshing as well. Being able to look at anything at all and just turn it into something. I mean, a lot of things you see from Warlords is just us kind of playing around with stuff. The Transmat gate that went out, the big circular disc, was bodged together because we didn't know what a Transmat looked like until like pretty much release. And then Rich took the old Sarissa German radar station and assembled it incorrectly to make this Transmat station. That's where that came from. So a lot of what we're doing with Sarissa is us taking their existing kits. They come every Wednesday. They bring us kind of broken kits and bits that didn't work and kind of just random sheets and stuff that got bits missing, and we use that and we bodge it together, make something out of it, and that's kind of being used towards the Antares scenery basically to kind of create prototypes. So it's all about kit bashing and bodging stuff together, and like you say, raid the recycling bin, raid any packaging you get. There's so much you can do with just about anything. Just look at shapes and see what you can imagine, and then get a knife and some gin out, and you'd be great.
Yeah, that sounds great. So, what armies then are you, or what forces, factions are you guys planning to mostly focus on? Because I know you guys like to have multiple different groups, but
everything.
All of them.
Everything twice.
If you don't collect all of them, you're not a proper hobbyist. So yeah. Joking aside, I'll probably do all of them. Mostly the one I'm looking forward to, obviously, is Isaurians.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's the one that's been so badly like missing so far. It's almost painful.
There's been so much community people saying they need Isaurians now that we've actually brought them forward in release schedule, so they're going to be released earlier than we initially imagined. And again, we're listening to people, because again, we're listening all the time, so we hear people want more Isaurians quickly, so we're doing that. We're shifting as much as we can. Obviously, we've got limited resource and stuff, but we're listening and we're working with what we can. But yes, sorry.
That's fantastic. I'm sure those two have been shouting the loudest, so no wonder they've been moved forward.
What can I say? I like Isaurians.
They've taken my kids' call.
No, I started off with Algarin, so I'm looking forward to the plastic Algarin as well. So they'll be nice to add in to the metal, so I can expand the squad sizes. Because since the book's come out from the beta book, you can change the squad sizes now, which I don't know if everybody's aware of. I'm sure the people who got the game will know. But for those who haven't, you can have different squad sizes now, so it's not just 5 men. You can have up to about 8, I think it is, in some of them.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I know.
You can have extra guys, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed with the base squads, it was kind of my only point of reference is bolt action at this point. The fact you can have this guy with plasma lance, and for extra points, and you can have a spotter for extra points, and so it was quite comforting to me really to be able to sort of look through and go, oh, that kind of makes sense because that's very similar to what I've played before.
Yeah, it's familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say,
it does make it comfortable.
Yeah. I think I'm quite excited really with the Concorde, particularly the fact that there's the plastics out for them, and I've got so many of them. I mean, it's brilliant. And you won't believe how much is in the starter set. I thought, no, surely he can't be telling me, there's going to be absolute tons. And I opened it. I'm still building, and I've been taking every moment I can to build. So, but I saw something on the Facebook group actually yesterday or the day before, and somebody had written up a battle report basically saying that they had played the GAR against the Concorde, and the Concorde had lost 7-0. And so I'm wondering maybe whether I need to swing more towards the GAR now rather than the Concorde.
It's an isolated incident.
Yeah. It's pure propaganda. It never happened. Never happened. As a Storage Concord player, no, they've never been defeated. Yes.
Yes, I have.
No, that's just a training exercise. Doesn't count.
Twice, mate.
Well,
It's the ambiguous blue, mate. It's not decisive enough.
But I need to go for something sort of bold in your face. I think we need to go back and repaint them. We need to go back to that chrome.
Into a bold colour, yeah.
Well, I quite like the idea because I've got the 4 squads. I thought maybe to do something different, because a lot of my basing that I've always done is, I guess, the traditional sort of a little bit of dirt and a little bit of grass, you know, and that's mostly historicals. And I thought, well, I quite fancy the jungle. So, like Jez was saying with the aquatic plants, you know, I've got my sails there on him, which I quite liked, and it stole some of the herbs from my wife's pantry and sprinkled them on the base. And so I think I'm going to do 2 squads of kind of jungle troops with one particular colour scheme. And then I'm actually thinking with the other 2 squads of doing something different, maybe something snowy, maybe something sort of rocky, just to try and mix it up and then give them a different colour scheme and give me a bit of variety of, you know, what sort of games I play, I guess, or what sort of worlds I can create with that. Have you guys experimented with the bases much, or?
A little bit.
Oh, crikey! For me, sorry to interrupt there. I've tried to go with a different theme for each of the different ones that I've done. So my freeboard are going to have sort of like a cracked deserty earth, because when I started reading through the background, it fitted quite nice with the Magri, I think it is, where they go. It's like a blasted desert wasteland type thing. So I think my guys are going to be sort of like a raid. The 500 points that I'm starting with are going to be like a raiding force to go and capture some Magri to add into the army. So that fits quite nice with that. The Concord, I've gone with sort of like a dusty moonscape for, so it's sort of greys and dusty pigments that I've used on there to get a bit more of a dusty feel on it. What was the other one? Algarin, they're on sort of like a more of a dusty brown. Was sort of like I wanted to get a bit of a Mars type effect, but not quite as red, a bit more brown. So I've gone with that on those. Boromites, which are currently being painted up at the moment, are potentially going to be on a lava base, if I can do it. I'm a bit worried about that at the moment. The painting's actually hard enough as it is. But each one's going to have a theme, which I've got another thing that I do with the Antares meets as well, which is about the painting as such. But I've got a strict no metallics rule on the stuff that I do for myself, so I don't necessarily want to do non-metallic metallics because I don't like that, but I've tried to steer away from having metal, like bare metal. So there's none of my stuff is, if you have a look at the stuff that I've done online or on my blog, it's all in sort of colours as opposed to being metallics.
Rick would give you a big thumbs up for that as well, because Rick was kind of mentioning kind of against that a little bit as well in the past, in passing. But yeah,
it doesn't kind of fit for me. It didn't gel with them having like proper like machine gun type things. You know, even with you know, in the future, I thought they'd get a bit more sort of advanced and have different type of weapons. So it's use different materials for it. Hello, Marcus. You're right. You're live on Google. That's my eldest spawn. Okay, go on. You made your point. Go on, jog on.
So I'm collecting. I haven't been able to really reveal them so far because obviously through beta and stuff we didn't reveal this. But I'm collecting a drop troop force. So it's entirely drop troops. So with the drop commands, with drop troop squads.
We're all on clouds.
Yeah, and then everything is mobile, so I'm not taking like an X launcher because that's quite static and it's on the floor and it's kind of seems to be not fixed in position, but it's deployed. So everything has to be mobile. So everything's on drones. Everything is tanks and drop troops and fast and kind of like a rapid insertion force. So I've worked on a few conversions, some of which you'll have seen, some of which you won't. But hopefully these get picked up on camera. So I've got drop troops on flying bases, so actual kind of flying drop troops.
That looks painful.
So I've got a squad at the moment who are all on flying bases that you can. They're not reposed that much. They're reposed arms and they're reposed legs and ankles and things here and there, and then just drilled into the feet for the most part. I try not to drill into the crotches because that literally doesn't feel great doing that. But there's a few on flying bases as well, so they're already in midair. There are also the free miniature with Dallas Horizon. The Kylek miniature is holding a Severed Gar battlesuit head. I was very lucky to be able to sweet talk Bernard from our packaging department, basically, to getting me a few of those heads. So I've gone for kind of a headhunter theme as well. So again, slightly converted dudes with the Gar head. So I've got kind of a squad with the Gar head in their hands as kind of headhunters, which is kind of becoming a bit of a theme for the army. So they go around and they particularly are sort of Gar killers, I suppose. So they've all got the Severed Gar head in different poses, and they've got different arms and bits and pieces chopped off.
Could they be Gar destroyers?
Yeah, exactly. So what I'll do is I'll take Daz's destroyed Gar, and I will put this guy maybe on a destroyed Gar and have him as my hero. It's kind of a bit Kylek-ish, but in drop troop form, and again with the Gar head and with the plasma lance and stuff. And then the one sorry?
He looks like a super Gar destroyer.
Yeah, exactly. And then the one I showed yesterday was this beastie, which was a bit of an homage to Victoria Lamb's old diorama with the Seraphim flaming the killer can. I had the idea yesterday, and literally within like half an hour I had this. It's not fantastic yet. I'm going to take the Gar off because it's all, the pin comes out of the Gar and stuff. So I'll change the Gar for a different one that's kind of more sort of fighting back and shooting back or something. And I might actually do more than one drop troop. I might have 2 or 3 drop troops around it and have the Gar kind of reeling backwards maybe, and have them all blasted with plasma lances and something. And again, he's got the must-have Gar head in his hand and stuff as well. And it's all, the arms from a plastic Concord Trooper, the hands from the metal Concord Drop Trooper. There's all kinds of bits in there. So that's kind of where I'm going with it all. I mean, bases-wise, I'm using base render from Foreground because that's kind of new what we've got, and I'm terrible at basing stuff. I'm terrible at all the hobby, to be honest. So that's nice and easy for me. Just get a lolly stick and apply it to the base, and it looks kind of desert and jungly. It looks all kind of cracked earthy, and it's really, really easy and really quick. And it paints up really easily and it inks really well. And anything that's kind of quick and easy for me is a big plus, so I can actually get things done.
Isn't it always, darling? Isn't it always?
Yeah, that's kind of me. I'm going with drop troops. I'm going for many little dioramas and stuff. If you know my Marine Army from Bolt Action, there's just weird diorama bits and characterful stuff in there. It's all nonsense, but it adds character and feel and kind of context to the army, I suppose. It all tells a story. So I'm going for kind of mini dioramas like the flying guys and the shooty guy and all kinds of things. So there'll be kind of cinematic effects. I'm going to do lots of kind of laser blasts and stuff, I think, in the army. I'm going to do lots of weird conversions. I'm trying desperately, because we recently became distributed for War Games Factory, and they do a zombie survivor sprue that has got an arm with a tennis racket. I'm trying desperately not to do a pair of flying drop troops playing swing ball with a Gar head. I'm trying not to, but I'm not winning the battle.
Just do it.
I'm open to weird ideas and stuff. So yeah, there'll be all sorts in there, but it's just a lot of fun. And again, I've done lots of converting in my Marine Army. Before the Marines, I didn't do a lot of converting. The Marines kind of sparks it off for me. The drop troops, because so far we only do 5 different drop troop models in metal, they're not easy to convert, so it's a bit of a challenge for me. So there's a lot of chopping and hacking. There's a lot of frustration, I'll be honest. But it's a lot of fun. It's really rewarding at the end of the day when you get something that looks half decent out of them. And again, there's more stuff coming from drop troops, but at the moment I'm having a lot of fun with taking the current drop troops, mixing with plastics because the arms all match in with the plastics, and the hands all doing things like that. So it's kind of going through and just chopping up and doing all kinds of stuff. So at the moment I've got, I think, 5 full squads of drop troops, all of which are entirely converted. There's not one model in there that's standard at all. Everything's got arms lopped off, legs lopped off, things locked off at the knee, and all reposed and all weird stuff done to it, just to make it an entirely unique drop troop army, because I've got massive OCD about getting multiple of the same pose in an army. It does my face in. So I'm hacking apart drop troops left, right and centre is what I'm doing.
They're looking awesome as well, though, to be fair. I mean, they do look really, really cool what you've done.
I just need to really start painting. I've painted like 2 or 3 squads, but I've kind of hit this wall of just, I can't paint anymore. So I'm kind of converting more. So I've got this big backlog building up. So you've got to keep kicking me to get things painted, really, guys, is the thing.
Spray it, ink it, done.
Even doing that.
So what are you doing with your bases then, Andy? Go on. What are you doing with your bases, Andy?
Quite a bit-ish. I'm doing this snowy scape, this snowy cityscape. But I want it to look like it's overgrown as well, so you get so there's a lot of kind of purple and pink vegetation growing through, and then like the snow on top as if like the weather control or whatever's failed the city. And then for each force, I'm going to tailor it, so they're still going to have that sort of unifying theme across all of them. But then things like Magar, they're getting some like puddles of acid and corrosion and gentle sort of goo mixed in with the snow, so like the snow's melting into it, so the Gar are moving across it. And
Space goo.
yeah, space goo.
Gargoo. Awesome.
Yeah, so there's the Gar have got the Gargoo. The Isorians probably get something similar, but in purple. Purple goo.
Purple goo.
And the Bolomites I'm working on at the moment, I'm going to make it look a bit more like an industrial space. I want to have a bit of rubble, maybe a bit of rust, or sort of other discoloration to the snow, just so it looks like there's something more going on, like they're in an industrial zone. I was thinking about putting stuff like machinery on the bases, but I thought that would look a bit too overpowering and a bit too much, so I wanted to sort of be a bit more subtle than that. But
yeah, that's why I've gone quite plain with a lot of my bases. I haven't really gone over the top with them, so I didn't want it to detract too much from the figures.
Yeah, I think especially as the figures are kind of so characterful, you don't need that level of basing with them.
You don't, no.
It just overwhelms them. I mean, even something like the Concord, where you've got sort of fairly plain armour, if you go into sort of too over the top, or over the top, over sort of, in my opinion, or estimation, basing, it detracts from the figure a little, because there's so much going on in the base that you're not looking at the figure then. It's a tough balance. But, yeah, it's working out so far.
I'll take the sails off now then.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is stick like some catamaran sails on a Concord. It's dreadfully detracting.
But yeah, for anyone out there watching, Antares is a vast universe with all kinds of planets. So when it comes to basing and scenery, it's whatever you want it to be. Whenever we ask Rick what an Antares board looks like, he just tells us, well, it could be anything. And that was the answer we got for like a year, which was a bit frustrating, but we worked around it. So it could be desert boards, they can be ice worlds, they can be ash wasty worlds, they can be urban, they can be jungles, there can be lava fields, there can be entirely oceanic planets, which I want to kind of investigate a bit. Ice worlds, all sorts. Again, terrain-wise, you're talking thousands upon tens of thousands upon billions of years of advancement. So there are going to be ruins of all sorts of kind of ancestors and civilizations that are kind of long forgotten, and weird buildings that the purpose of them is kind of way forgotten in the sands of time and stuff. So it could be anything at all. When we say ruins in the book, that you can have ruins, they could be anything. They can be kind of modern ruins. They can be weird kind of stone circles. We're kind of going to do in the future as well. Kind of stone circles, and standing stones and stuff. So it can be absolutely anything. Whatever you want to do, there's no kind of wrong answer with Antares. I say it's all about do whatever comes to mind, do whatever inspiration strikes. We're working on a bunch of boards and bits and pieces at the moment, just to kind of show off that it can be anything. But yeah, any idea at all. And again, if you're stuck for ideas, go to the Facebook groups and stuff and chat in there, because there are so many people in there that are doing so many weird and wonderful things. That if you need inspiration, there's heaps and heaps out there. And again, if you have any questions, chuck them in there, because I say you'll likely get an answer from Rick pretty quickly, to be honest. He's on there, he's massively excited as well. Or you get an answer from one of us, sort of, part-timers as well.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking in my head of some Aztec step pyramid thing. I think that would be pretty cool to have somewhere.
Yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't do it, Carl. I mean, looking back at reading some of the background information on the Isaurians last night, and one of the things that struck me was saying that the Antarian gate, the one gates, they all shut, and everybody was cut off, and the Isaurians sort of like stayed technologically advanced and became the start of the Concord, whereas a lot of the other human bits that got cut off started regressing. So right. Some of them went sort of terribly back to wheels, you would also say. So eventually you've got a huge choice of whatever you want to do. Yeah. It's absolutely whatever you can imagine. If you can imagine it, do it.
Yeah.
That's why I like it. You've just got so much freedom.
Yeah, I have to say, when I got a copy of the better version, the rules there, I think it's like one of the first pages. There's this bridge kind of on supports, and the floor's all cracked with lava running through it, and I saw that and I just was inspired. I thought, well, you know what? That's
That
something
one?
I would. That's the one.
There
That's
it
the
is.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought, that's that's the sort of great things you can do with this, as a sci-fi game, is that you can really do anything with it. You're not looking at just your English and French Hamlets anymore, and it's vastly out there. I'm actually really excited. I didn't realize how excited I was until I got the starter set and it arrived, and I opened it up and I saw all, and I thought, wow, I really wasn't very excited, and now I'm extremely excited. And the point that my wife now comes in and says, how are the Antares figures? And the fact that she knows the name of the game shows some sort of level of excitement in the house. So,
Why you haven't shut up about it, yeah.
yeah, basically.
Yeah, so I say. Having said that, I do quite fancy doing some kind of quasi-Antarian Normandy village now.
I was thinking, yeah,
Which would be awesome, really. Yeah, so, some kind of multicoloured bocage. Oh, hello.
I could see the Concorde on landing craft coming up the beach.
Oh, yes! It's got to be done. Yeah, on floating ones, yeah.
Yeah. Now, John...
Hovering. Yeah, you go.
John on the Antares group said that he was talking about bases. He says he uses the Fenris Games.
Yeah, they're really nice, mate. Have you seen them?
I haven't.
Sulaco bases.
Google them.
Aliens, mate. Think aliens. Yeah. They're lovely, and that's another thing you can do with the bases, because they sort of tell you the size of the bases. There you go. Not quite in focus there, Andy. Didn't quite see that.
It's just a teaser. You're not supposed to see it properly.
You are, Andy. You are just a teaser.
Yeah,
No.
Look, here's a base. It looks like that, but with stuff on it. Yeah. So.
What more do you need? It's a base. It's got stuff on it.
What more do you need? It's a space base. So yeah, it's the Sulaco bases are like Aliens. I think the film Alien and Aliens, and it's basically that. But there's a lot of choice out there, and as long as you sort of keep it round about the size that you get in the box, it's not a massive issue about your bases really.
Yeah.
And it gives you a huge choice, really a huge choice, especially when you're doing the plastics. Because you've got a massive amount of stuff that you can just stick the model straight onto, and you haven't necessarily, for goodness sake, and you haven't necessarily. Right.
Hi, begin.
Thank you. That's kids for you. Awesome. So yeah, you've got a whole choice. There's some Luxite again. Just to take the edge off. But you've got a whole choice of bases that you can choose from. The resin bases that you can just have anything really.
Yeah.
And just will's your oyster. Go for it. I believe they do lava bases. That might be easy for the Boromoids. Yeah. I'm going to try and make them then and just paint them.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, how am I going to make like a lava and a kind of cracked earth base, and I was thinking about card and all that. I thought, well, that's getting a bit fiddly now. So maybe I'll have to look into those.
You could use the Games Workshop. They do a crackle paint. You paint on fairly thick and then it cracks apart. That could be quite good. If you painted it sort of orange or yellow or something underneath, and then painted the texture paint on top, then it sort of cracks apart. So you've got like all these like gaps in between the earth.
You've got to be really careful when you paint it though, because if you don't seal it properly before you put the technical paint on the top, it peels off.
Yeah.
It is an adventure. You have to paint it onto probably PVA, I recommend.
Well, I tried doing it the other day, and I put some plaster on. Waited 24 hours for the plaster to set, then sealed it over with like watered down PVA glue. Then painted it, and then put the stuff on. It's still pretty peeled off. So I'm more like, no!
Oops.
Yeah, so I just do it. I was really happy. Really
that works
happy with that. Yeah. So I had to do that again. So I think next time it's going to be pieces of cork floor tile stuck down with super glue, and then some kind of watered down PVA with some inks mixed in it, and then pour that in, or some water effects. You get some Vallejo water effects. Mix some red and yellow inks into it, and just pour it in, and then when it seals, it's okay then.
Yeah. That'd work well. Especially if you sort of poured it quickly and started getting some bubbles in it, that'd look quite awesome, actually.
Now you've inspired me. I have to go off and play with water effects.
Yeah, the PVA in paints will do it, because obviously the PVA will dry rock hard, and the paint will give it a proper sort of like opaque thing, so you can, you can't see through it then. So, whereas the water effects, if you mix it with ink, you'll still be able to see it. But you can get some nice gunky effects with sort of the water effects and like yellow and green inks. So if you mix them in and then put them onto a base, it looks like a Gar plasma dump.
Nice.
Cheeky.
Sounds like the world's our oyster.
I want to do a big oyster board now, like a giant oyster shell now, for some reason. Am I going crazy? I think I'm going crazy.
Fantastic. Well, we've come to the end of the hour, gents, and
whoa! It's gone so quickly. And only mild abuse from the children.
Wasn't bad for a first outing. Fantastic. Well,
I could go on for another hour.
Oh.
I'll go and get the kids back if you want.
Yeah, I have to say, being over here and not having a War Games club to go to on a regular basis has been one of the hardest parts of moving. But no, having this chat's been brilliant, and I'm sure we'll have many more in the future on many different subjects, from bolt action, and I know I've been talking about a bit of Saga as well, because I Warlord sent through my Vikings and my Saxons, so I'm excited about that. So thank you so much for joining us, gents. Thank you for all the viewers viewing. It's been a good first outing. Next time I'm going to have to work out how to get the ops working so they can actually ask questions.
It's been a lot.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks.
I'm off to murder my children.
You can't say that.
I might lock them in the freezer next time.
What he says, then what he's going to do is he's going to encourage them to do it next time, but just be even more of his style.
I'll get him to walk behind me a lot more, yeah.
Placards, like.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, thank you ever so much to Andy Singleton from Volley Fire Painting Services. Thank you ever so much to Jez from Jez's painting blog and everything else he does. And thank you very much to Rich D, Rich the Converter, I'm now going to call you, I think.
Before we go.
Last thoughts from Warlord.
I think we have to have our little Jez disclaimer that we don't condone killing your children, and we don't condone sniffing solvents of any kind. When you use glue, use it in a nicely ventilated area.
Absolutely. Oh, I've got fantastic ventilation in my nostrils. It's very good.
Now.
Not anymore. Not after we've used the super glue activator, mate.
It's like a solid ink cosplayed of super glue up there now.
And a big thank you.
With some terps later. It'll be fun.
A big thank you to you, Carl, for having us.
No worries. Well, when you said on the chat the other day that it was going to be crazy, I was like, oh, how crazy can it be?
This is like first gear crazy.
You're barely scraping sanity. We're just getting started, mate.
That's on our best behaviour and being polite, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank you ever so much, gents, and thank you to everyone who's been watching, and we will see you next time. And until then, goodbye.
Oh, having a shout out to do. I'm doing demo games of Antares in Rochester on Saturday from 11-ish. So if you want to have the game, put down and I'll give you a rundown, give you a demo.
Fantastic.
I'll be there.
Andy, send me a link if you've got some link, and I'll put that up on my Facebook page. So.
Cool, thanks, Matt.
Cool. No worries. Have a great night, guys, and we'll see you all soon.
Night.